Captain Marvel punch somebody and they fly across the room. But when you have somebody that's not really supposed to be superpowered, like a small woman punching a roided out biker looking dude who's 3 times her size, and he flies across the room, that kind of and not. It's not even really flying across the room. It just seems like that the stuntman is doing a backflip, really accommodating. Oh, okay, you punch me. It's like he's playing soccer, like he's going for a foul. That just happened all the way through it, and it really, as you say, the way that the movie felt, like those scenes felt like they were directed by another person.
Yeah,
it was the same thing as what I remember you telling me with Wonder Woman. The way that the big CGI heavy action scenes in Wonder Woman felt like they were directed by Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
And yeah, so just so many bad things. I mean, specifically the as well as the whole Birds of Prey thing, but I know I've rambled on for a bit now, so I don't know, what did you think of that? Like the way that they could have maybe, had they focused more on Harley Quinn, they might have actually had a story that was a lot more interesting.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, like when I was doing a little bit of research on this, I found out that this is another one of the movies that kind of got really railroaded by that huge change that DC made to the original storyline that they were going to do with the DC films, because originally Lady Shiva and Katana from Suicide Squad were supposed to be Harley Quinn's allies in this film, and Penguin was supposed to be the bad guy in the film. So I don't know how they were going to have them face off, but I'm guessing that they were going to further enhance the fact that Bruce Wayne had brought together the Suicide Squad to be the good guys, kind of thing, and go up against Penguin. I don't know how Birds of Prey ever got into this, and I think one of the things that really antagonized me was, I don't know whether they deliberately set out to change it, or whether or not after that first draft came out that had Lady Shiva and Katana in it, whether they felt like, okay, that all has to change now, so we need to bring in other female leads. But one of the biggest issues that they've done here is the detective Renee Montoya and Cassandra Cain, they've never been in Birds of Prey in the comics. Neither has Harley Quinn until this movie came out. Like, they've now done a comic where she is in Birds of Prey, but she was never in it. Birds of Prey was set up by Barbara Gordon. She doesn't even make an appearance in this film. So it feels like this movie is trying to change the entire legacy of Birds of Prey. But when you go back to that original screenplay that they said, yeah, had Katana and the likes in it, that actually makes more sense, because one of the storylines that was going to happen in that original DC universe was going to be a relationship between Harley Quinn and Batman that becomes a love triangle, because then you've got Joker and Wonder Woman pissed off about this relationship. That would have actually made more sense in this movie if they had actually used Katana and Harley Quinn, and also if maybe had Bruce Wayne and Batman in there being more the guiding hand on the Suicide Squad, and then, yeah, bringing in Penguin because you need a big bad guy for them to, like, go up against. That would have made perfect sense. So to me, it really does feel like, and this is why it's so frustrating about this movie, because it does feel like whoever wrote this hasn't done a lot of research into the DC universe, especially around Birds of Prey and these characters. But then at the same time, someone must have, because there's little things in there that only like real DC fans would know. Like at one point when they're in the detective's apartment, there's a clip of Days of Our Lives playing on the television, and the actress that's in that scene is Arlene Sorkin, who DC fans would know was the original voice of Harley Quinn in the animated series. So, like, it feels like, yeah, someone has done a lot of research into the DC universe, but when it comes to the basics of how Birds of Prey started, and who Harley Quinn's allies are, they've completely messed it up. So, yeah, to me it really feels like it's another one where I feel like I would have been more excited by the film if they'd gone with what was in the first draft of the movie, because having her two allies as being two people that we already saw in Suicide Squad, that would have made a whole lot more sense to me. And and the same, there's been a few people criticizing the fact that Harley Quinn has a hyena in this movie. Well, if you've read the DC comics, she's had hyenas in the past. It's not new. But yeah, it feels like someone's done a ton of research, but then just scrapped everything else and gone, I'll just change the entire Birds of Prey origin story and give Harley allies that she's never ever had in any of the comics.
Yeah, it's kind of little things that fans of DC would appreciate. I remember watching Teen Titans go to the movies, and there was a lot of stuff in the background there that was really cool. For somebody that's knows about the history of the movies or history of the comics, but it's weird. I don't know how much of it was potentially because they wanted to maybe save a lot of. Basically, the Birds of Prey, they're kind of tied to Batman, but maybe they wanted to keep a lot of that stuff safe for Batman. Not have the Penguin, because we can use the Penguin in a Batman movie.
That's what they're saying one of the reasons is, but now the really weird thing is, now they're saying that they're actually going to make a third Harley Quinn movie, and it's going to be Gotham Sirens, which she has always been a member of anyway. Which would have made even more sense. And there's even a flashback sequence in this movie where Harley's flashbacks are told in animation. The female character that she describes and that we see in the animation that she was in love with before Joker, it's obviously Poison Ivy. And it's so if the whole idea was to always make a Gotham Sirens movie, then why not have had a Gotham Sirens movie instead of Birds of Prey? Because Harley Quinn has always been a member of the Gotham Sirens. I don't know. It just feels like they've just messed with the folklore so badly, and that is the first thing that's going to turn serious comic book movies off this film. Because look, I saw a guy have a meltdown at Comic-Con because Batman tried to get into the photo with a whole bunch of Marvel characters, and this guy had a whole meltdown yelling wrong universe, and couldn't cope with it. That's the kind of people that are going to love this movie and are going to go out there and spread words to their friends about how good it is. But you start messing with the folklore, or you start getting little things wrong from the comics, and you lose those people. And yeah, they're a pretty unforgiving bunch. You think Star Wars fans are unforgiving? That's nothing to what DC and Marvel fans can be like.
Yeah, because, I had always thought that they were supposed to be doing the Gotham City Sirens movie, because that was one that I think that they had announced not that long after Suicide Squad came out, and it was supposed to be directed by David Ayer, the same director of Suicide Squad, and have Harley Quinn and I think Catwoman and Poison Ivy, but just their decision to do this instead. As I understand, this seemed like they gave Margot Robbie the choice as to what movie they would they proceeded with, and she decided to do this for some reason.
But it does sound like that first draft that she signed off on was very different to what we've ended up having in the cinema, which again feels like studio pressure in a sense, because from what I read, it sounded like they were really determined to go with Penguin as the bad guy, and then got railroaded because they now want Penguin in the new Batman movie. So I don't know, I really hate that DC do that to their filmmakers. It's it was the same with Suicide Squad. It's okay, so a filmmaker pitched an idea to them that was going to be a new Marvel universe. They were talking 5 to 10 movies revolving around that storyline, and then all of a sudden they've gone halfway through the movie, we're not going to do that anymore. It just it feels like they're shooting themselves in the foot. And the really sad thing is, the DC television shows are so bloody good. We're going back and rewatching Gotham now, and when you realize how they brought those characters to life in Gotham, again, a story that is kind of manufactured because it's the story of Gordon as a young cop, so they have to kind of invent new ways to bring in characters from the DC comics to to interact with him, and they did it so well. When you look at the first season, and you look at how they do the interactions between Gordon and Cobblepot, where you know is going to become Penguin down the track, they do it so damn well. And like the same, like they have in the first season, you see the girl who's going to become Catwoman, and they do those stories so well, but they just don't seem to transfer that same brilliance that they have with the television shows into their films, except for when you get something that's like totally off track, like Joker, and even with Wonder Woman, who a lot of people talked about how good it was. I was even disappointed with the ending of that. It's like, I don't get how a studio who can produce such fine television seem to stuff it up so badly when it comes to actually bringing it to the big screen.
I mean, like there were some... I mean, there was a couple of things that had potential here, even if they had changed the villain of Roman Sionis to being black, from Penguin to Black Mask. I thought Ewan McGregor was actually pretty fun to watch on screen at times.
Yeah.
As this like psycho gangster, but because the movie spends so much time portraying man as idiots and weak or whatever, he never really becomes. Well, he becomes a sadistic threat, but he's never like. He's just an idiot.
He becomes a walking cliche. That's what I meant before with the two halves of the movie. Early on, he's freaking dangerous. Like that scene where he thinks the girl is laughing at him, so he makes her get up on the stage, up on the table and strip. It's like, that is cold-hearted, and like from a cinematic bad guy, that's brilliant. But then he just becomes a walking cliche for the second half of the movie.
Like even his relationship with Victor Zsasz, another character that they kind of screwed around with in this movie. But his relationship with Zsasz, that was really interesting. But it seems like they might have cut a lot of their scenes together, because it feels like there's a hint of them, like that they might be in some kind of a homosexual relationship.
Yeah.
But potentially, it seems like they might have cut the. Like there's undertones of it in there. Maybe that's all they ever wanted to go with, but then even that's disappointing. It just feels like maybe they cut that because they didn't want to get accused of, I don't know, some kind of bigotry.
Yeah.
By having like the really only there's two homosexual men in the movie and they're both villains. I don't know if they wanted to they do that, but the rest of the cast, specifically the Birds of Prey, they feel really odd or miscast in their roles, like how they're handled, like or even just being pushed aside, so the movie can focus so much on Harley Quinn. Like Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress, she's barely in the film until the end of the movie. Rosie Perez, I'm sorry to say, she's too damn old to be playing somebody that's supposed to be the physical threat that they want to portray her as, and like nobody is really given as much time in the movie as Margot Robbie to shine as Harley Quinn. And I don't know if it's this, how much of this is because she's producing it, or how much is the studio wanting to focus so much on her. But it's like even just the simple things as costume design, she kind of stands out, but none of the other characters do. The other characters just like look like wallpaper next to her.
Yeah.
From what they've got them wearing. And the character Cassandra Cain is the worst. Like this is even ignoring how they changed her from the comics,
where she doesn't talk.
Yeah, like being this mute kung fu chick, like completely changing the character so that she's some street smart pickpocket instead. But the actress playing her, Ella J. Basco, she's just terrible. She's terrible in the role. It reminded me so much of not just the nature of the thing, but the relationship between the kid in Deadpool 2 and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of the same thing here. Not just their relationship, but also because the kid can't act.
For our audiences wondering why I'm laughing at the moment, it's because the week after we did our Deadpool 2 review, and I said that kid was terrible and couldn't act, I was offered an opportunity to interview him face to face, and I turned it down because I was terrified